Think about the last time your effort went unnoticed. You worked hard on something. You gave it your time, attention, and energy. You solved problems no one else saw. You kept going even when you were tired, but when the work was finished, no one mentioned your contribution. Someone else received the credit. Your manager moved on to the next task. Your partner did not notice what you had done. Something you created received almost no response. You told yourself it should not matter, but it did. Your body reacted before you could explain it. Your chest tightened, your face grew warm. You felt the urge to defend yourself, withdraw, or prove that you deserved more. Then your mind replayed the moment. Why did they ignore me? Did I do something wrong? Do they value someone else more? The event ended quickly, but the feeling of not being seen stayed with you. We rarely experience being overlooked as an event. The mind gives it a personal meaning. My name was not mentioned becomes, my work does not matter. They praised someone else becomes, I am not good enough. They did not respond becomes, I am not important to them. This is why a small moment can hurt so much. We are not only reacting to what happened, we are reacting to what we believe it says about us. Then we judge ourselves for caring. We say that we are too sensitive, too insecure, or too dependent on other people's opinions. But wanting to be seen is not a weakness. Human beings need connection. We want our efforts to matter. We want the people we love to understand us. We want to know that our presence makes a difference. The problem is not that we appreciate recognition. The problem begins when we need recognition to confirm our worth. When we do not feel secure in our own worth, we begin looking for evidence outside ourselves. A title, a promotion, a degree, more followers, more praise, more attention from someone we love. The mind makes a clear promise. When I receive this, I will stop doubting myself. Recognition may keep that promise for a short time. We feel relieved. We feel important. We believe we have finally earned our place. Then another fear begins. Will people still respect me tomorrow? What if I fail next time? What if someone more talented appears? What if the attention moves away from me? Now we must protect the recognition we worked so hard to receive. We need another success, another compliment, another sign that we still matter. Recognition no longer feels like a gift. It becomes a requirement. The more we depend on it to feel secure, the more frightened we become of losing it. Recognition itself is not the enemy. A fair promotion can acknowledge years of work. A sincere compliment can encourage us. Being appreciated in a relationship can create trust and closeness. We do not need to reject these things, but recognition has limits. It can tell us that someone noticed our work. It cannot remove our self-doubt. It can describe our role. It cannot tell us who we are. It can make us feel valued for a moment. It cannot create security if our identity depends on approval. Anything the world gives can also change. A title can be lost. Praise can stop. Attention can move to someone else. So why does recognition feel like proof that we matter, yet never make us feel secure for long? This question once drove one of the most powerful beings in Chinese literature into rebellion. Sun Wukong had power, freedom, and a kingdom. Then heaven offered him a title. Heaven did not call Sun Wukong because it admired him. The celestial court was worried about him. He had taken a weapon from the dragon palace. He had entered the underworld and erased his name from the register of life and death. He had become too powerful to ignore, but difficult to control. Some officials wanted to send an army. The gold star of Venus suggested another plan. Bring the monkey to heaven. Give him a position. Keep him close enough to watch. Wukong did not know the full reason behind the invitation. He only knew that heaven had called his name. To him, this meant that the highest authority in the universe had finally recognized his power. He left Flower Fruit Mountain and entered the celestial court, expecting a place worthy of what he had become. The Jade Emperor gave him a title, Bimawen, Protector of the Heavenly Horses. Wukong accepted it with pride. Wukong did not immediately reject the work. He went to the imperial stables, learned his responsibilities, checked the horses, and gave their position his attention. Under his care, the horses became strong and healthy. For a time, he appeared satisfied. Then he asked a simple question. What rank does Bimawen hold in heaven? The officials told him that it held no meaningful rank. It was a minor position, close to the bottom of the celestial order. At that moment, the job changed in Wukong's mind. A few seconds earlier, he had been the protector of the heavenly horses, a servant of heaven with an official title. Now he saw himself as a stable keeper who had been given a grand name to hide a humiliating position. The horses had not changed. His duties had not changed. Only his understanding of how heaven ranked him had changed, and that was enough to turn pride into anger. Wukong was not angry about the work. He was angry because the position told him something he did not want to hear. Heaven did not see him as an equal. It did not place him among respected officials. The title that had made him feel accepted now felt like proof that he had been deceived and belittled. He did not pause to separate the facts from the meaning he gave them. The fact, heaven had assigned him a minor role. The story in his mind was larger. They think I'm insignificant. They brought me here to make a fool of me. They have denied my true worth. Once that story took hold, the injury no longer felt professional. It felt personal. Wukong abandoned the position, returned to Flower Fruit Mountain, and rejected the title heaven had given him. But he did not give up his need for a title. He created a greater one. At Flower Fruit Mountain, Wukong took a new title, the Great Sage, equal to heaven. Heaven had placed him too low, so he placed himself at the highest level he could imagine. This looked like confidence, but his new title was still controlled by the judgment he claimed to reject. Without heaven's low ranking, there would have been no need to declare himself equal to heaven. His rebellion was still a response. His greatness still needed an audience. The new title did not free him from heaven's opinion. It showed how deeply that opinion had entered him. One moment he needed heaven to say, "You belong here." The next he shouted, "I am as great as heaven itself." Both statements came from the same wound. He still needed a position to answer the question of who he was. When heaven's title made him feel small, he built a larger title to protect himself from the feeling. We may not declare ourselves equal to heaven, but we react in similar ways. When our work is ignored, we may work twice as hard so no one can overlook us. When another person is praised, we may search for reasons their success does not count. When a group makes us feel unimportant, we may dismiss the group and tell ourselves we never needed it. We may withdraw, become defensive, exaggerate our achievements, or act as though recognition means nothing to us. These reactions look different. One person becomes smaller, another makes themselves larger, but both are still asking the world the same question: where do I stand? Am I above them? Am I equal to them? Am I below them? Wukong's anger did not begin with the horses. It began with measurement. His suffering came from needing his position in heaven to determine his value. Buddhism gives this measurement of self a name: mana. Mana is usually translated as conceit. In ordinary language, conceit means believing that we are better than other people. In Buddhist teaching, mana is broader. It is the mind's habit of measuring the self. I am better than them. I am equal to them. I am worse than them. All three statements may look different, but each one builds a sense of self through comparison. Wukong moved through all three. As the Monkey King, he believed his power made him greater than others. When heaven gave him a minor position, he felt placed below its officials. When he called himself the great sage, equal to heaven, he demanded a position beside the highest authority he knew. The title changed, the comparison remained. This is why mana cannot be reduced to pride. It is present whenever we need to locate ourselves on a scale before we can decide how valuable, important, or secure we are. Mana can make us appear larger, but it can also make us feel small. One person responds to being overlooked by advertising every achievement. Another becomes quiet and decides they have nothing worth offering. One competes with everyone in the room. Another avoids the room because comparison feels too painful. Pride and shame can grow from the same habit. Both ask, where do I stand in relation to them? This does not mean that all comparison is wrong. People have different skills, responsibilities, and levels of experience. We need clear evaluation in work, education, and daily life. The problem begins when a practical difference becomes a judgment about our entire worth. They have more experience becomes, they are more valuable than I am. I made a mistake becomes, I am a failure. I received praise becomes, I must keep proving that I deserve it. Mana turns useful information into an identity that must be defended. The Buddha called these 8 worldly conditions loka dhamma: gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. These conditions are not punishments, they are part of living in a changing world. At times, people will notice us. At other times, they will overlook us. Some people will praise what we do. Others may criticize the same action. The problem is not that these conditions exist. The problem is building an identity on conditions that cannot remain stable. Wukong felt honored when heaven gave him a title. He felt humiliated when he learned its rank. The same title moved him from pride to anger because his sense of self moved with heaven's judgment. When praise becomes proof that we matter, blame feels like proof that we do not. When fame becomes a home, losing attention feels like losing ourselves. The world changes, and an identity built upon it changes with it. How does this trap catch us in ordinary moments? The process happens quickly. Your contribution is not mentioned. That is the event. The body reacts with tightness, heat, or heaviness. Then mana begins measuring. They noticed someone else. That person must be more important than I am. The mind adds a larger story. No one respects me. My work has no value. I will always be overlooked. What happened now becomes who I am. I am unimportant. Then we react to defend that identity. We attack, withdraw, overwork, or search for reassurance. This does not mean the original situation was fair. We may have been ignored, underestimated, or treated badly. Clear seeing does not require passive acceptance. It allows us to separate two things: the problem that needs a response, and the story that turns the problem into a definition of who we are. Without that separation, we fight both at the same time. This explains why recognition never feels like enough. Each time we use recognition as proof of worth, we strengthen the fear that proof may disappear. Praise brings relief, but it teaches the mind to wait for more. A title gives a position. If it becomes our identity, we must protect it. Recognition can confirm our work was noticed. It cannot create security from changing conditions. The Buddhist response is not to reject success, praise, or appreciation. It is to see them clearly. Receive praise without using it to become larger. Meet criticism without using it to become smaller. Learn from both without asking either one to decide who you are. Understanding matters, but may not stop the reaction when we feel ignored again. For freedom to begin, we must see mana as it arises. We must notice the comparison, the story, and the urge to defend, and recognize that all of them are being known. Seeing the need for recognition does not mean fighting it. The moment we notice it, the mind may create another standard. I should not care about praise. I should be more humble. An aware person would not feel this way. But this can become another form of mana. Now we compare ourselves through spirituality. We want to be less attached, less needy, or more awakened than others. The object has changed. The measuring continues. Suppressing the need for recognition does not free us from it. It only pushes the need out of sight. We may say praise means nothing while waiting for someone to praise our detachment. We do not need another inner fight. The first step is simpler. Acknowledge what is happening. There is a wish to be seen. There is pain when that wish is not met. Neither experience needs to be condemned, and neither one needs to decide what we do next. This is the shift from identification to awareness. When we are identified with the monkey mind, we say, I am being disrespected. I am not valuable. I must prove myself. The thought and the self feel like the same thing. Awareness creates a distinction. There is a feeling of hurt. There is a thought that I am not valuable. There is an urge to prove myself. The feeling remains. The thought may continue. But both are being known. Awareness is not another title or belief about who you are. It is the knowing of what is happening now. You know that the chest is tight. You know that comparison has begun. You know that the mind wants to defend an image. This does not make the experience unreal. It prevents the experience from becoming your entire identity. You are no longer only inside the reaction. You can see the reaction while it is taking place. The practice is simple. We can call it the 3 inquiries of awareness. Use it whenever recognition is absent. The first inquiry is, what actually happened? separate facts from conclusions. My name was not mentioned. The person did not respond. Someone else received the credit. The video received fewer views than I expected. Then notice the body. Is there tightness in the chest, heat in the face, pressure in the throat, heaviness in the stomach? Stay with the sensation for one breath. Do not explain it. Do not try to remove it. The mind moves quickly from an event to a judgment about the self. My name was not mentioned becomes, I do not matter. The person did not respond becomes, I am not important. Return to the event. It may have been unfair. It may require a response. But first, see what happened and what the mind has already concluded about you. The second inquiry is, what story did the monkey mind add? They do not respect me. No one values what I do. I am not talented enough. I will always be overlooked. Do not argue with these thoughts. Do not replace them with reassurance. Recognize thoughts as thoughts, not as truths. Then ask the third inquiry. What is aware of the event, the feeling, and the story? Do not answer with another idea. Step into the space of knowing. The memory is being known. The tightness is being known. The thought of not being enough is being known. The urge to react is being known. Even the wish for everything to disappear is being known. Stay for a few breaths. Discomfort may remain. Awareness does not force it to leave. It reveals that pain can be present without becoming your identity or controlling your action. That space between feeling and action is where freedom begins. Awareness does not erase emotion. It does not tell you to stop feeling hurt. It does not ask you to accept unfairness. It does not forbid you from wanting appreciation. It does not require you to remain where you are disrespected. Awareness allows you to respond without making the reaction prove who you are. You can ask for credit without fighting for your worth. You can tell someone that you feel unappreciated without making them responsible for your value. You can receive criticism without collapsing. You can leave a harmful situation without carrying it as proof that you are unlovable. The action may be firm. The boundary may still be clear. The difference is the source of the action. Are you responding to the facts, or are you trying to silence the fear that you are nobody? Awareness does not remove your ability to act. It removes the compulsion to act from a wounded identity. Then bring compassion to the part that wants recognition. That part is not your enemy. It learned to connect being seen with being safe, accepted, and included. When recognition is absent, it fears more than a compliment. It fears being unimportant. It fears being excluded. It fears being forgotten. Do not shame it. Acknowledge what it is trying to do. I understand why you want to be seen. You are trying to protect me. You do not need to disappear, but you do not need to lead me. Compassion does not mean believing every story the mind creates. It means refusing to add shame to pain. You can still enjoy praise. You can accept a title. You can learn from feedback and numbers. You can ask to be treated fairly. Freedom is not the absence of recognition. Freedom is receiving recognition without using it to define your existence, and meeting its absence without abandoning yourself. Wukong raised the banner of the great sage, equal to heaven, to make heaven recognize him. But the title did not heal the fear that created it. No title could. A title can describe a role, recognize an achievement, or open a door, but it cannot tell you who you are. You may welcome praise. You may let the world see your work. Its silence may disappoint you. But you do not have to become larger when praise arrives or smaller when it disappears. Awareness sees the monkey. Compassion meets its fear without judgment. Wisdom chooses without following its demands. Wukong needed heaven to answer a single question: who am I? Freedom begins the moment we stop asking the world to answer that question for us. Recognition may find you. It may encourage your heart or open a door, but it does not have to serve as proof that you exist.
Built a house out of your applause, waited by the door for a name. I carried the weight of the quietest rooms, then wondered why no one came. I smiled at the table and let it pass by. Told myself I was mature, but deep in my chest where the silence lived, I only wanted to be sure that the time I gave had left a mark somewhere. We dress up our doubt in titles and crowns, building walls out of what we achieve. We ask temporary moments of passing applause to tell us we have a right to breathe. But the higher we climb on a fragile stage, the harder we fall when it fades. Trading our peace for an audience, loving the light, but terrified of the shade. How much praise would it take to make an empty house feel safe? How many names can I wear before I stop watching their face? Oh, what can describe what my hands have done? A rain can open a door, but I am done asking a changing world to tell me what I am for. I am still here when the room goes quiet. I am still here, unmeasured. My mind is a scale that never sleeps, weighing who is high and who is low. When they look at me, I grow too large. When they turn away, I fold. I am better than them, I am worse than them. The story is never complete. I fought for a home in the eyes of the crowd, and it left me afraid to breathe, protecting an image I was never meant to keep. How much praise would it take to make an empty house feel safe? How many names can I wear before I stop watching their face? A word can describe what my hands have done. A rain can open a door, but I am done asking a changing world to tell me what I am for. I am still here when the room goes quiet. I am hide, but you will no longer decide who I am. The name was not spoken, that is just the fact. I don't have to shrink, and I don't have to attack. I can stand for my work without begging for worth. I can speak what is true without fighting the earth. No armor to wear, no image to defend, no waiting for voices to tell me again. Let the recognition come, let it fade like the tide. It was only a mirror, never the life inside. I was here before the name. I will be here when it goes. Who am I when the world looks away? I am here, unmeasured, still